South Africa, and I've been living in Canada for at least 40 years now. And I'm sure all of you have the devices and the software, and I'm responsible for getting the Narayani remedies on the software. And those remedies actually are very, very powerful. And what I'm going to talk today is, I may be a repeat for some of you, but I'm going to try to show you how I use a homeopathic approach and how you can actually use the device to prepare remedies, to assess remedies. You can test products, you can test your supplements, you can test them on the homeopathic screen, you can test it also on the auto meridian screen. So I'll show you both ways. I don't have my device with me, but I'll show you how it's done so any of you can try it. So I'm going to start with the basis of homeopathy, which is basically we are all of mankind has outgrown under all of these, all or some of the miasms. And the main miasm, I would say, the entire mankind is Sora. And then we came across Syphilis and gonorrhea. And then later, Sora and Syphilis became TB. So, based on these different miasms, we, in our homeopaths, basically try to assess what miasm is the root cause of a client's illness. Now, every miasm has a characteristic. So, what I've done is I've made a... Can you see that? Okay. I cannot make it any bigger. So, we start off with the first miasm, which is Sora. And Sora is to do with skin issues, phlegmatic, lymphatic, a lot of winter conditions, and the no-sode that we use is soranum. By no-sode, it means that they take the actual condition with skin conditions and they make a homeopathic from it. So that becomes almost like a early day vaccination. Early day vaccinations were done actually homeopathically. But the vaccinations that exist today are made with synthetics, and in my opinion, they don't work. So what I've done here is, under constitution type of Sora people, they are controlled, reliable, passive, thoughtful, even-tempered, calm, and they act on self-interest. So the different homeopathic remedies that are associated with the Sora miasm. So what I do is, I'm showing you these little things, and then when we do an assessment on the screen of client, we check little clues. So we see they may have one or two of these clues, and then we look at the different things, and you can sort of assess. And I always keep a paper handy when I see a client, make my notes. The easiest way I make my notes, for example, if I want to piggyback any remedy onto the treatment panels, I write the matrix number. Because if you put the matrix number on the treatment panels, it will pull the frequency right from the matrix. So the remedies for the Sora is Caliphos, Silica, Calicloratum, Calicarbonicum, Calicarbonicum. I did it. Calcarbonicum and Calicarbonicum. Belladonna and Gravites. I find we use it in the XMK potency, which is a 10,000 K Korsakoff potency. Sepia, magnesium carbonicum, citric acid, and an no-sode that is prepared by Kiel, Germany. It's called naphthalquinone, which is also used for pulling out deep miasms. So it works well for the Sora miasm. Then on the matrix, our matrix that we have, interleukin shows up a lot. And interleukin 6, interleukin 10, interleukin 2, and interferon gamma. So what happens in the case of Sora, people will have more of an excess of interleukin 6 and an excess of interleukin 2, and deficiency of interleukin 10 and deficiency of interferon gamma. And serotonin, the serotonin will be good, but they'll be lacking dopamine. So these are all little clues that you keep in your head, and as you see a client, you can sort of draw a picture of what's going on with them. The bark flower remedies that work very well for the sort of miasm is hornbeam, olive, sweet chestnut, pine, oak, mistletoe, elm, and beech. And Professor Nelson has done amazing things. He's even got bark flowers in there. So when we click on bark flowers, you can see for that moment what the client is hallucinating to. So that's an extra clue for you to use in your treatment plan. The organs that are involved are colon, embryo, pulmonary, and thyroid 2, TH2. Imbalance of TH2. And the weakness of SOA people is growth retarded, bone issues, lung, lymphatic, psychotic, slow, arteriosclerosis, dyslipidemia, and bacterial infections. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. In vitamins that are associated with SOA is vitamin D, vitamin B17. Actually, Thank you. See, I learned something from you. Is that good? Oh, thank you.
Drag it down a tiny bit. We get the lower end.
Okay, I think everything's there. Is that better? Okay, good. Oh, then we lose outlines. Yeah. So, and the vitamin D, vitamin B17, vitamin B6, vitamin B15 pangamic acid, vitamin B2 riboflavin, and the metals, the heavy metals that are affecting SOA people is aluminum. And then the other metals that are beneficial metals are magnesium, calcium, and chromium. And SOA people need stimulants because the general indication of a SOA patient is they are slow. Everything is slow about them, slow. Anything, it's a deficiency syndrome. So you know that they need coffee. So they need stimulants and they need a high fiber diet. Okay, the next miasm is syphilis. And the remedy for syphilis is syphilinum, or leucine is the other name for it. Now, syphilis affects the cellular system, patients are melancholic, and issues around spring. And the nurse that we use to treat is syphilinum. This presentation will be on the website, so yeah. Iboya will put it up on the website. So you can, there's no copyright, use it freely. And the constitution of syphilis people, they are moody, anxious, unsociable, rigid, sober, pessimistic, reserved, psychopathic, and acts on principles. Now the homeopathic remedies that are associated with that is Calcarea floricum, Calibic, Natrum mora also in a high potency XMK, Floric acid XMK, and Aurum metallicum 200C, Magphos, Natrum chloratum, Natrum oxalicum, Natrum fluor, and the hero product that I use for this is parabenzoquinone, this one here, and the other remedy is baronium. In the case of a syphilitic miasm person, they have a deficiency of interleukin 6, excess of interleukin 10, deficiency of interleukin 2, and deficiency of interferon gamma. The issues are on thyroid Th1, and they have low dopamine, high serotonin. And the bud flowers that are connected to this miasm is wild rose, star of Bethlehem, mimulus, larch, honeysuckle, gentian, clematis, violet, and cherry plum. The organs that are most affected are blood, urinary tubules, thyroid, hypophysis, that's the hypothalamus, adrenals, the epiphysis, which is ends of bones, joint problems, adrenals, gonads, kidney, and connective tissue. The weak areas of these people are sadness, dementia, autoimmune, severe diseases, atropic illnesses, structural issues, bladder, and the one meridian, which is our main meridian, the CV meridian. Vitamin E, vitamin B12, B9, vitamin C, and vitamin K. They would either be, sometimes they would even have excess of it. So it's an imbalance. I would look for the imbalance in that vitamin. And the toxicity of heavy metal for them is mercury. And quite often we see one of the side effects of vaccinations is because of the mercury, testosterone in the mercury in the vaccines. And cobalt is for their blood, potassium, and zinc is the good minerals. They need to have the immune system boosted, and minerals and vitamin-rich foods. Now, psychosis is gonorrhea. The nature of the people are very sanguine. It's an autumn. People have issues around autumn. Where did I go? Psychosis, yes. These people tend to be good leaders, easygoing, outgoing, passive, talkative, carefree, sociable, lively. They act on good-hearted impulse. And the remedy is Tuya, XMK. And I use this XMK Tuya is we don't repeat the high potency remedies. We just give like a dose and wait for the body to start going into either a pull-out or a reaction phase, and then we see them as symptoms change, and we follow up with different remedies. Like a podium 200C, natrum puricum, fumic acid, natrium puricum. It's a new one of the newer remedies. Yeah. Fumaric acid, magnesium sulf, calcareous sulf, natrium sulf, kali sulf, sulfur, sulfuric acid, and aconitum. Now, these people have an interleukin 6 excess, deficiency of interleukin 10, deficiency of interleukin 2, and interferon gamma, they are okay with that. And the remedy that healers made for this type of miasm is ubiquinone. It's a good remedy because within ubiquinone they also have parabenzoquinone. Unfortunately, in North America, he decided to move out because of the harassment from the Canadian government and the FDA, so they decided to pack it up and back in Europe. So in Europe, heal remedies are available, but unfortunately in North America, we can't get it. These people have an excess of serotonin and dopamine, so they will be high-strung at times. The buffalo remedies are white chestnut, vine, impatiens, willow, crabapple, heather, Serato, agrimony, chicory. There's something that's interesting here. You can see, we know that crabapple is a good cleanser. It's a cleansing remedy because it works at the higher than the etheric level. The flower remedies go beyond the etheric level. And if you look, these people need detoxing and cleansing all the time. So it's how it shows the whole picture. I got this information from a chart that was prepared by Dr. Bianchi. Dr. Bianchi had worked with Heal, and then he works with Guna in Italy. Yeah. The organs that are affected is these people have low thyroid. The hypothyroid is possibly sometimes overactive adrenals, and they have issues with joints, adrenals, thymus, gonads, and parathyroid. Low parathyroid, so that means they will have a calcium imbalance. And the weak areas of the body is skin, heart, aging, intoxication, plethora, hypertension, and toxicity. The vitamins that we find connected with them is vitamin B1, inositol, choline, vitamin B6, and niacin. And the toxic metal here is cadmium. And cadmium is used a lot. We use cadmium self-homeopathically for a lot of cancer patients. So, we use basically like curing like, so we know people have the symptoms of, if you go into the Materia Medica and look up cadmium self and all the cadmium remedies, many anti-cancer remedies, cancer treatment remedies come from cadmium homeopathically. Beneficial is copper, sodium, selenium, and silicon. They need constant detoxing, cleansing, clean diets, and these people also need to eat less fat. If they metabolize the fat, it's okay, but if they're having problems, then that's one of the things. It doesn't mean that they have to give up what they're eating. Then tubercular, which is a combination of the two miasms, which is syphilis and sora. And these people are very touchy, restless, excitable, optimistic, aggressive, compulsive, changeable, and neurotic. The very interesting thing is, I've had tuberculosis in my life, but I know I'm not one of those constitutions. So there's always an exception to the rule. In my case, I got tuberculosis from repeated TB vaccination. When I was leaving South Africa back in 1971 and 72, they came around to the schools and they gave us TB vaccinations. They do it on the hand to get a reaction, so I had no reaction, so a week later they gave it to me again. And then no reaction, they gave it to me a third time, and then there was a slight reaction. So then they left me alone, and then I came to Canada, and I was healthy, passed the very stringent medical exam to come to Canada, where they check your x-rays, blood reports, they do a DNA on the blood and everything. Everything was clear. But in Canada, I was young, and I was working 10 hours a day. I was playing a lot of soccer, and I was doing martial art training, and I neglected my sleeping and eating, and then I got sick. And then progressively led from bronchitis to pneumonia to pleurisy. And then in a matter of 6 weeks, I had lost like about 45 pounds in weight. So that's when they decided to look for TB, and they found that I had TB. So we figured that they gave me the TB by the vaccines. And 1974, when I went back to South Africa, that's when I met Narayani, and I started learning homeopathy. And as a young homeopath, newly homeopath, I took the liberty of taking tuberculinum, one dose every day for 30 days. In 200. And I went through the healing crisis. It was awful. It was pretty awful. I went through some terrible things. Eventually, I ended up with an abscess, a very anal abscess. And one of the things I also learned later in one of, I think, Bhattacharya's books, that he talks about when you remove a miasm, it leaves from the base chakra. So that's another thing. When you do treat anybody for any miasmatic stuff, you should give a miasmic remedy. Treat the base chakra as well, because that's where it lives. So I have doctors in my family, and they all insisted me taking me to the hospital, and then they operated and they created even more pain and discomfort, and they gave me a lot of antibiotics. In the meantime, now the body is already in the detox stage. So I developed on my arm right here 6 carbuncles right here. So I said to everybody, leave me alone, I'm taking care of it myself, and I kept taking hyposulfuricum, something to draw it out. And this abscess, multiple abscesses, they drained for about 6 weeks until it was fresh blood. And when it healed, to this day, I don't even have a scar. So the body is absolutely amazing. I had a carpenter who builds frames of homes, and he came to me and he had a few wooden splinters in his hand. So I gave him silicium 200. I gave him 1 dose a day for 7 days. He came back a month later and he says, wood splinters were coming out of everywhere in his legs and hands and everywhere. They were just popping out. So just the right impetus, the body will take care of itself. So the homeopathic remedies for tuberculosis, calcareous phosphoricum, califos, argentum nitricum, XMK, nux vomica, XMK, causticum 200, magphos, calcphos, phosphoric acid, ferrumphos, and natphos. Then you have a deficiency of interleukin 6, excess of interleukin 10, excess of interleukin 2, interferon gamma, they have a deficiency, and they have issues with Th1. Now, the healing remedy that's used for this miasm is anthraxicum, anthraxichinone, beg your pardon, and low serotonin, high dopamine. Now, the buffalo remedies are wild oat, walnut, vervain, scleranthus, red chestnut, gorse, holly, and chestnut bud. The organs that are mostly affected are liver, spleen, pancreas, thyroid, hypothalamus, the epiphysis, thymus, gonads, and parathyroid. Now, those are pretty much standard in a lot of them. The weak areas are energy, anxiety, irritability, so all the strep infections, and virus, and they're prone to virus infections. So if one treats them with homeopathic streptococcus, there's many varieties of streptococcus, and I think on the matrix there's many streptococcus, so you can see which one they resonate to. The vitamins that are involved is vitamin A, vitamin B5, vitamin B8, and copper. And the toxicity metal for them is lead, chromium, phosphorus, and tin. They need sedatives, foods rich in protein. Now, this is sometimes, if you notice, like somebody who may have worked with in the industry where they work with lead, and they have no reaction. Then some people react to lead, some people have lead toxicity, some don't. So this explains why some people have a miasmatic issue, so their bodies would react more. Likewise, I get the common story when I talk to people about smoking. He says, I've been smoking all my life, and so, this constitution is strong at the moment, but at some point it will catch up. Now, on the matrix, there are many homeopathic search boxes. You can search to look for homeopathics. You can type just homeopathic. You can type in Narayani. You can type in Gona, Regenaplex, Monastery of Herbs, and I think also Pasco. Pasco is on the matrix, right? We have some Pasco remedies. Yes, there's some Pasco remedies. So these are all the places to look for homeopathic remedies. Okay, so now we'll go to this screen and I'll show you the different buttons mean, and then I'll take you there, and we can see here we put the patient name will appear automatically when you fill in your client's name. We got, this is a default, which is activate all. We got on the screen here duplicate homeopathic test reaction of remedies, load info, access dosage can. One of the things that I started to do recently is when you open up your demographic screen, there's a button there for homeopathic activation. So before I really test the client, I'm just opening up the file. I go to the demographics and I go to clear carrier. See that? So the reason I do that is I try to clear all the leftover frequencies from other patients or something that's left in the harness or in the test plate or anything that's there from previous work. So I click that and then go to the demographics and open up the demographics for the client. And you all do know that you don't put the harness on until the bar is loaded past 25%. Yeah. So I'll take you to the actual homeopathic activation screen here. Okay, there we go. Now there is a default here where it types in potencies all to LM100. Now if you click on that, you won't get any potencies on that. So if you want to test a product, what I do is I would click on take energy from tray. Now I'm just going to do it just for the exercise. I don't know what I'm testing because I don't have a test plate. But when you click on test, take energy from tray, so whatever substance you put on the tray, it's taken, the machine is reading it. So it says energy from the tray loaded. Then we go test reaction. And then we see the percentage of reaction. So I'm getting 100% to nothing. So whatever on the test plate, if it's anything over 80, 90, it's a good. Now now these buttons here, tray, activate output, harness, activate virtual or activate all, amplify pattern, invert pattern. Now, when do you invert a pattern? Does anybody have any ideas? Right, so sometimes somebody may have a toxic condition, or someone may have an excess of discharge, like nasal discharge. So what I would do is I will take that nasal discharge on a Kleenex or a tissue, put it on the test plate, take the energy from the tray, and then you go back and you invert it. So when you invert it, you're giving them a homeopathic office. And then, after you invert it, you take the substance off the tray, you place your alcohol and distilled water combination on the test plate, and you say duplicate. So once you duplicate, you do it 3 times. So I find remedies prepared on the SKIO device, they work for about 28 days. Remedies that I make, I have a device that I use for making homeopathic remedies. I have remedies that are 30, almost 40 years old and they still work. And so, for these, for your purpose, it just helps us that Disney has done an amazing thing that really we have everything in our hands. We can use this thing well. We can help a lot of people. The next thing is we talk about testing reactions of remedies. When you click on that button, oh sorry, I've done that already. I'm going to just go to another button. Load homeopathic list. So here, there's a search box right there. But this particular search box does not work with the matrix numbers. I just realized that today. I was trying to show Beata them. And so you have to type the remedies that you are looking for. So for example, if you would say, we type in Tuya and we go search. Now we've got different types of Tuya that we're going to see. So what you can do here, we just click on any one of them. You click on that and you say, oh, why isn't it right here? Oh, you double click, sorry. You double click and it goes onto the line here. See that? So when you do that, the check potency button opens up. So I click on check potency. It's giving a 12x. So the 12x is highlighted here. And that is a good way of, and if you want to do another remedy, you can, you've got a place to try out, you can load up to 4. And just to show you, if the remedy doesn't resonate the first shot, I don't do it. So I double click on that and that went on to the second line. So we say check potency for that one. It gave me a multiple potency, 6, 12 and 50M. So we'll just double click on another one, vaccinum, which is on the third line, and we say check potency. No lock, please repeat. So I would not use that. Because I always look for the first reaction. So you got it? Good. Now, this screen here is, there's many things here where you can actually look at the polycross remedies, venoms. It's not the full list of remedies, but Robert Davidson is the one that worked on the screen and he did a lot of work. And unfortunately, Robert Davidson is really ill right now. I don't know if he's alive, but he was very, very sick last I heard. And then there is, you can also, by the way, this remedy you can duplicate here too. Or you can say rectify to 95%. So when you want to duplicate there, you can place your water on the test plate and duplicate there. Now then we've got, this is an interesting panel, the show repertory panel. This is for the classical homeopaths. You can type the information and then load and prepare scan, and then it'll come up. And I think this one here, I found a little bit of a glitch in the software. It doesn't bring up it doesn't tell you exactly which remedy is. So this is how I use this screen. So is there any questions on the screen? Yes, you can actually, if you want to use a remedy, then any other remedy that's not on the matrix, then you have to do it by the other way I showed you, where you take the remedy from take energy from the tray. Yeah. And then it'll load it in the memory, and then you can test it here. Okay, we'll go to the next slide now. We talk about acupuncture. Now, most only licensed practitioners can do acupuncture, but acupuncture can only be done by a licensed practitioner. But and a biofeedback therapist, you can definitely relieve the stress by using the auto meridian screen, which I use quite successfully actually. So I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis of the yin meridians and this yang meridians. There's 12 meridians altogether. Lung, spleen, heart, kidney, pericardium, and liver. The yin meridians and the yang are large intestine, stomach, small intestine, bladder, trichogoma, and gallbladder. There's also a little chart here that I prepared with the 12 meridians. Oh gosh, maybe reduce it a little bit. Okay, can you see that? Yeah, the entire presentation is gonna be on, so, yeah. So, what I've done here is points for tonifying, dispersing. These are the cleft points, if you can't get those points, and then the lower points and the source points. Like sometimes the source points is, or the meridian is where that point will pretty much work on the entire meridian, source point, and the move point are the front move points and the back shoe points here. So these are little, you can actually print it out and keep it. So when you want to think of whatever you want to work with a patient on the automeridian screen, you can do it. Now, this is the automeridian screen that we have. You know how to get here. Okay, good. So when you open the screen, sometimes by default certain points are already there. So you can say, when you click take acupuncture points, those will come up. And what's number 11 are default blanks. So we type here, if you, after assessing the patient, you figure out what's their main psychological blockage, you type it there, and you insert the physical disorder here. And you hit start, and you can, now here's where homeopathy can come in very handy, or matrix numbers. When you make your notes while assessing a patient, you make notes of the matrix numbers, you can type it in here. So when you double click, this disappears, and you type in the matrix numbers, you can put any numbers or any remedy, double clicks between the remedies. And then when you treat here, you will treat all of them, yes. So that's a typical blank screen with nothing in there. So I would write in different remedies, different points, psychological disorder, physical disorder, and here I will type in anything I want to piggyback. I have some points here for nervous breakdown. So I've already done that for you, just to show you as an example. So actually the nervous breakdown should have been here, and then the psychological disorder is what you type in. Now, sometimes you can actually question the patient and ask them what's bothering them the most emotionally, and you can type that in there. And here you can pick up remedies from the matrix and type it in there and treat till you get over 80% correlate, so 80% rectified. I've had Dr. Nelson, the first time when he had the QXCI, he was in Vancouver at the traditional Chinese medicine school, and the grandmaster there was hooked up to the device. And we didn't tell him what points were being done. He would just click different points, and this man would actually point to every point that's been touched, including the one under the tongue. His energy was so clean that he could feel everything. For children, it's perfect, yes. Children, when they have, I find kids that are very restless and behavior problems, right away, just go GV20. Just treat the GV20 a few times and they settle down. Now, urinary tract infection is another one. The psychological issue with UTI is it's always angry at someone and there's a territorial conflict. So I've got all the points that you can put in there, and don't forget to piggyback remedies in there that you can. The remedies? I would use Barbarus, one thing, to release Barbarus you would use. Cantaris is another one. Yeah. So there's different, sometimes you may have to use it in Belladonna. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I didn't take the picture of it, but I'll show you. I'll go to the actual auto-meridian screen. So we run the test, start the test and retest. And I'll go back to that and show you in the meantime what that's doing. So usually, guys, these are the points I found very effective. And the next slide is degeneration. See, there's that little panel below here. Yeah. So degeneration is any kind of degenerative diseases. You can give them just a gentle treatment. And I find, depending on how toxic a client is or how old they are, I don't do too much. We have to be very gentle because you can get those the real healing crisis that not everybody can handle it. And one of the things that I found, especially when we're getting a lot of eczema and skin issues, and my choice of remedy that I always give with any skin disease is berberis. And I give berberis in a cord, 30, 60, 100, 200. Because we want to really open up the kidney channels. Just before I came 3 weeks ago, my brother-in-law had a kidney transplant. Ironically, he's a medical doctor. And my sister called me and said, can I work on him? So I did subspace work on him on the biofeedback panel. I went to wound healing. And then in the box, I type in different messages and different remedies, and I let it run all night. And when he was in the surgery, his new kidney started functioning in 1 hour. And the next day I went to see him, he had already his skin looked better. And he's telling me, it's funny, all the blemishes in my skin are disappearing. So I told him it's the toxins that were coming out through the skin, now they can leave through the kidney. So berberis is very effective in helping drain the toxins out of the body, especially when you give homeopathics with skin issues. So this screen opens up. So for my client report, I always save that report. Now you close it. Now I close it and then I open the acupuncture diagnosis, and then, what I do is I open this screen, and then when you close it, the repair all button shows up. This one here. So you try and treat it that way, so you balance the meridians. So you may have to do it a few times, and once that's balanced, then I go and test remedies on the test plate. That's done. So I close it, and when you click on this button here, then that button opens up test meridians to an item. So that's when you put your item on the test plate. So when I'm testing supplements, I always do first 1 pill. Even though the supplement says 3, 4 a day, I test 1 first and see how it reacts, and then I put 2 on and see the reaction. So right now there's nothing on the test plate. We're testing the air again, and it runs a test. And then at this point we want to see how many whites and how many fuchsia colors we have for them. So we've got quite a few whites and fuchsias, which are good. And the neurological spleen and the CID meridian and the kidney meridians are they're not being helped. That's what it means. So if a person comes in with a kidney issue, you want to see that supplement help the kidney, right? So if someone says they went to the store and they bought a supplement it's good for the kidneys, you test it, and the kidney one doesn't do anything, then you know it's not doing anything for the kidney. That's one way of testing those answers. Now go to this screen here, that's where your question is. I click on consciousness form test. So automatically these are picked for you. You can also take in more points, and it's taken more. So the heart, X-ray, UE, CV, kidney. Now, what I do is I just normally I put back to 11, and I start my prescription. I call it prescription because I'm a prescription of acupuncture points. You can actually type, if you double click, you can actually even type the remedy in there. And then the psychological disorder, physical disorder, this is where your enter concerns is. So this can be used for two ways. You can either check to see what points you want to look for, or you can actually piggyback a remedy that you want to piggyback to an acupuncture point. Now, the one point that's very, very good that I've used and a lot of people quite successfully is this one here, where we do the 4 chakra balance and this one here. Sometimes a stubborn patient, I do this one. I click on test and treat till I get 100% green panel. This also helps open up the main opening here. So it's a good starting point for therapy. And we have just about everything is self-explanatory. For example, if you click on this one, it says right there, for all concerns, addictions, fear, and feeling stuck. So when you have spare time, look through these things. A lot of the points are self-explanatory then. Now, here, in the question of feeling stuck, I would ask the client what caused them to be stuck, some kind of a shock or trauma or anything like that. Then I would type in the remedies that will resonate to them. The one remedy that I found works excellent for shock is Narayani shock. It's on the matrix, you can type that in. No, it's not classical, it's, yeah. It's, shock is Alika and Ignatia. Yeah, 200, yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's, all the points are now quite explained. People clinging to the past. You can treat it from here and wait till we get a green point. And people do leave your place actually feeling better, which is basically what we are here for, right? Okay, this is, I've showed this before as well. It's a good point, a good program that you can do on using these points and load it on to these points here. And well, this is one part of a treatment, and this is the second part of the treatment. And in the piggyback, I use this item number on the matrix. Recently, I had a lady who was having issues. Just all of a sudden she started to gain weight, and no rhyme or reason. She's eating very well, and so her body metabolism through menopause is just altered very suddenly. So in her case, I did the actual injections where we do the homeopathic, it's called Biopuncture, where we use the actual homeopathic remedy prepared by Gona, and we inject a little under the skin at these acupuncture points. But most of you are not allowed to do that. If you are allowed to do it, you can get the remedy from Gona. Homeo 1 is the remedy, and Homeo 2 is the second one. So, it's quite a complex remedy actually, very complex. It's a cocktail, yes. So I put it just under the skin, and I leave like a little blister, like at these points, and they dissipate. And 1 week, this lady who was already feeling fat, blown and everything, she right away settled down and, So we can do this without actually injecting them, because these remedies I brought to Dr. Nelson and he put them in the matrix. But all the guna ones are in the remedy. And for people who want to do any aesthetic work, there's guna only 1 or 2, guna made, guna collagen, and there's quite a few series. If you type Dr. Guna on the test on the search box, you'll see all the guna remedies. They work really great for doing aesthetic work on people. You can actually do the acupuncture meridians and piggyback these remedies on them. So 1 week I would do these points with this remedy, and the following week I would do this remedy with those points. Now, in some stuff that I learned from a Chinese grandmaster in Boston, and I picked a lot of this information. He was teaching it in a different technique where we actually do a needling. So I said, why not try to use it with our device? I tried to use our device to its fullest capability because it's there. And we know that the points do work. So you'll get this on the website. So brain plasticity, brain points from the skull and the neck, governing vessel 22, governing vessel 20, gallbladder 12, governing vessel 17. Governing vessel 17 is for, we call it a CRV, cardiac, respiratory, and vascular system. And triple Roma 16, triple Roma 18, triple Roma 18, basal ganglia. That's the point for, as we age, our phrenic nerve, like the thymus gland, shrinks. The phrenic nerve also, as we get older, it gets weaker and weaker. To stimulate that is the large intestine 17, which is here. Then steps to what we're going to do, like if when we treat somebody for brain issues, we go back again. Brain plasticity. So this is for people with Alzheimer's, like dementia, things like that. So that's the program. And then we start first to stimulate the blood supply. Step 1, stomach 11, stomach 12. Step 2, to the brain blood supply is large intestine 17, large intestine 18, and Jiangdong. Jiangdong is actually the 3 CV3, CV2, CV4, CV6. From CV1 to CV5, that's where those points are. So you can add that all in the matrix. And if you have the time, you can even actually do them individually, which I think may be more effective. I found them effective, like if I had the time, I would just do 1 point at a time. When the panel is the meridian, that point is fully balanced, and I'll go to the next point. It takes a little longer, yes, definitely, yeah. So now we also have to work on the brain and nerves. Gallbladder 13, right side for emotions, left side for mental focus. Hypothalamus gallbladder 19, the GV 20. GV 17 for cardiac, respiratory, vascular, and gallbladder 14 for speech, and gallbladder 9 for speech points. So you can see how these points work really well for people with dementia, mental issues, things like that. And there again, when you type these on the meridian screen, you can, on the box, you can always piggyback a remedy that you have. But people who are on antidepressants are very scared to get off the medication. And same with the narcotic painkillers. I found that when they have a severe injury, they put them on Oxycontin or morphine or whatever. It helps the pain initially, but they heal but the brain wants the medication, so the brain manifests the pain. So, as Jose was talking about the German new medicine, I find that's amazing. I used the new German new medicine screen on the device, and it works really well as well. Because we have like a computer hard drive. We think we can erase it by erasing things. It never gets erased. Information is stored in layers. That's why even the government departments, police departments go around picking up all hard drives. They have equipment to read all the layers. You think that you've erased it, unless short of you destroy the hard drive, then you can't read it, but information is stored. Likewise, our cells in our body, information is stored. If you had a trauma as a child, and information is way below, but you are now an adult, and things are happening, you really don't know why, but when you trace back and you get to that time when that trauma is there, you can treat that in unconscious panel. You can treat it on the degeneration screen. And I've had absolutely, literally 40 minutes. I had one girl who I treated who had a lot of trauma. I did 3 sessions with her. The first session, each time she felt a little better. The final breakthrough I was treating her, when I looked at her face, I said, your face has totally changed. So she went to the bathroom, came back, she said, I looked in the mirror and I'm scared to look again. Because she couldn't recognize herself. She was totally, the stress was gone. Because we went down to the deep, deep lower level and erased that. And I think the degeneration screen for that really works well. And you can go even into the unconscious panel. I'll show you that one. See this one here? That one works really well. And then you can actually clear it. When you click on that, it opens up that one. So I type in the age, and then you click start. No, you don't know nothing. At this point, you just put the age, and you put the age, and then you hit start. And then you'll get information coming up here with different ages, times, and things. Then you go disease path, and more stuff comes up. And then you treat it. You treat it right here. I found 3 minutes is enough. 3 minutes is enough here. Because we have seen a lot of the two treatments are 3 minutes. 3 minutes is enough to make cellular change. And
with some borderline. 10 minutes for non-stop. So I have to do the experience changes in 5 minutes and outward.
Yeah.
4 sections and
yeah, no, true. That's there's no, I found 3 minutes is where the cellular change does happen, but we may need to do other things in between to get the.
So let's start on 5 minutes and actually the change. Doing that time already. After that, it was better thing. So.
Oh, good. And another thing is, I always, after doing a session on people, I always click on disrupt hypothalamus and gallbladder. Because that's actually telling the hypothalamus that process the treatment that we are doing. It allows the body to process the treatment. That's a good way to finish that part of the treatment. So the brain and nerves, we work that way, and then we go to diabetes. Diabetes 2 is when the body cannot properly metabolize glucose. And diabetes 3 is also now, they said it has a correlation to Alzheimer's. There's a correlation between Alzheimer's and diabetes 3. And diabetes 1 is autoimmune. Now, what's unique about diabetes, it's caused by excess fat in the bloodstream, creates difficulty for insulin to get to the cells to metabolize glucose. Wrong spelling. The quality of fat determines the quality of cells, since the membranes are made of fat, poor quality glucose. And by fats, we mean the bad fats, not the good fats. Type 1 is autoimmune. Type 2 is insulin resistance. Insulin resistance to the brain, that's type 3. And that's where Alzheimer's comes in. And quite often I've seen people, like right now my mother-in-law is starting to Alzheimer's symptom, and she's, all her life she's set in a diet that's really, I can tell, and it's hard for her to change her diet. And now she's getting memory lapse, so you can see it. As much as the whole world talks about sugar, the body does need sugar, the good sugars. And I was just recently, somebody sent me an article that one of the scientists did a study that every cell in our body has a coating of sugar. That's why when we put the sugar homeopathic under the tongue, the signal is carried the fastest. So the homeopathic is actually piggyback. The sugar is piggybacking the homeopathic. And it always, even in real life, when you talk sweetly to people, you gain a lot more. The treatment of diabetes type 1 autoimmune is T1, T2, T3, T4, T7, and T8. Now, in the matrix of the automeridian matrix, you can actually just write T1. Here you can write T1. T space 1. And then you can put it there. And also here again, there's many remedies in the matrix that the doctor recommends. Novistas, there's Marini, there's Guna, there's many. Regenerative actually has a very good set of remedies, and I find them they resonate very well, so you can piggyback all of them. The T is thoracic 1. Now and that's actually the dermal zone for, the dermatome. So the acupuncture point is at T1, so that's why we put T1 there. And then type 2 insulin resistance is T1, T2, T3, 4, 7, 8, 10. Then the cervical 1, 4, 6. I notice a lot of the people have C come up, and 9 out of 10 is they're diabetic. Yeah. Yeah, C4 is the actual one of the points for the diabetics. Yeah.
Well, if I go into that panel from the program then
Oh. Right. And then stomach 11, stomach 12, large intestine 17, large intestine 18, and type 3 insulin resistance to the brain. I've got all the points there. I left I left Toronto day before yesterday, and a few days ago I had a client that came in, and they are from Sri Lanka, and they talked about the herb Gotukola. And apparently, I didn't know this, that in the supermarkets in Toronto, they sell fresh Gotukola and they use it as in their food. And I try to share the knowledge as much as I can that eat one leaf a day, it really brightens up the brain. In Ayurveda, they make brahmi from Gotukola.
You say it again?
I'll type it in. That's what it is. And the actual fresh Gotukola, if you go into any ethnic stores, they carry it fresh. And people eat it in their salads, and they eat it. And it's really handy. It's not bad tasting. Not bad tasting at all. But I'm biased because I'm a vegetarian. For memory. It's very good for memory. Now we come to stresses of cancer. Cancer cells have a very specific preferred environment and anatomy. Also, Warburg 1, that's my typing error. Always I have this problem. Won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for identifying the nature and environment of cancer. Anaerobic fermentation, cell energy production, respiration, as opposed to normal cell respiration, which is ATP. And it's very interesting. This information I also learned from Dr. Tom Tam in Boston. Blockage of the biochemical communication system. So what do we have of a device? We have the bioelectrical. So we can actually help reconnect the dots for people. And the steps to treat it is stomach 11, stomach 12, to increase the oxygen. In a situation like this, when someone definitely comes in with a diagnosed cancer, I would do them one point at a time and just give them the full session and just call them in just for the therapy. Like, don't do a multitude of tests or multitude of treatments because you can overload them body already. So you give them some drainage remedies, and in Europe you guys have access to Heal, and Heal has the amazing remedies called Barber's Homocard, Nuts Vomica Homocard, and Lyphosate. Those are the best I found that those detox at all levels in the body, the lymphatic, the digestive, and the kidney. Lyphosate and Barber's Homocard and Nuts Vomica Homocard. They're really. But D3? Yeah, you can add that too, sure. Yeah, it's really a good support, yes. And then we got for the vertebral artery, large intestine 17, large intestine 18. And this is the point for a phrenic nerve. And actually, if you push yourself there, you'll find it very painful. It's a very painful spot when you push it. And it's just, that's the point we use to increase the oxygen by treating the phrenic nerve. And blockages, open the blockages, for example, to the lung, the thoracic 9 right hand side for the pancreas, T4 for the breast. And here I've also added a chart of, and I've taken it actually from, it's not something that I developed, it's something that was already there. These points were already there in the matrix. And what I did is I added the piggyback remedies you can use. Now you can download it from there, so. So, you can sometimes, if you don't know if you know the way the remedy is written in the matrix, you can type it in. And if you know the matrix numbers, you can type the matrix numbers in. Uplift, yes. Narayani special. Uplift, yeah. That's a very good one. And you see, if people have inappropriate thoughts of dying and cardiac or hurt feeling, hyperactive, forgetful, diabetes, depression, clinging to the past. Did I ever give you did I put it on your computer? Because I have the whole, so what happens when you open it, it's like a material medical of all the Narayani remedies. So any one you click on, it tells you the breakdown of the remedy. So the entire 215 Narayani remedies are there. And I just brought another, when Narayani was alive, she was working in the South India in the Sai Baba ashram. They started a few clinics there, and the homeopaths from there, they put their heads together and they took the Narayani remedies and they came up with other combinations. So they've made 108 remedies, which I just brought in this time, and I'm going to put them, hopefully get them added to the matrix. And I found they are very powerful remedies, extremely, and hopefully I'll get that also added to this booklet so people can just read the booklet and read. So if you don't, for example, you can always minimize this one and it'll always be at the bottom there, you see? There. Now also, there's an alphabetical list. Which is also very handy. Where you've got the remedy, you've got the potency, and you've got the matrix number. So they all are there to use. And then if you can search it by another method also, if you want to search it by alphabetical. Yeah, alphabetical is actually the better one. So this whole program, what you do is, those of you who have the new Windows 10 or the new the QX World software, then you need to open this one, which is actually a program that Ron, you need to install that. Right now I'm not going to install it, but I have it already, but because this program was written in the old this program here was written with the old database that we had, with the older version. So to get this one, program to read it, you have to download that file I told you. This one. See, that's the Narayani alphabetical, and that's the file. So I'll put that whole file on the website, so you just take the whole Narayani folder, put it in there, and work with it. Okay, so any more questions? Yeah, so what you have to do is, each person is different, right? So what I would do is, I would click on the main matrix here and type in addictions. And we see what the unconscious is telling us. And I also pay attention to a lot of the matrix numbers that are the score value of 100. I find they are quite relevant because when initially the QXCR software was written, 100 was our threshold point. And I think it's still there that those scores at 100 score value are quite relevant. So I always have a pad of paper here that I write down and I quickly look at what's showing at the score value of 100 and I make a note of that. And then, you can go and do individual reaction or whatever. And then, have you done the additions through the anti-smoking program and the NLP? You've done it that way, right? Yeah. But in the homeopathic field, you see this when I typed in addiction, all the different things are coming in for helping for addiction. Now, you could actually even just, you could actually type it, go right into the homeopathic screen here and see which one works for them. Open up. There we go. So for that one, they picked your remedies, right? So you can actually double click on these. You want to let them on there. So when you double click on the line, it clears the lines again. So addition of willpower eating. Okay, let's do that one. When you double click that, it goes onto this line, and then let's check for the potency. It'll tell you whether it resonates. It did resonate. 30C. Now this one here, the Narayani mixture number 72, is actually very good for addictions. It also cleans up addictions to prescription drugs. Isn't that one interesting? It says thought addiction. The flower essence. Yes. Every time you type double click here, it also goes into that screen there at the top. So when you double click, you can clean that off. Any more questions on the homeopathic screen? In this screen here, you have to do them one at a time. When you double click from here, it also gets onto the list here. You see here? So when I double click there, it goes on there, right? And then you can actually do this and do this. So it's in all these places. So and then you check the potencies of each one. There's a 1M, that's a 50M, 12C, 50M. Check the potency of 1MCM. So what I would do in this case is we've got 30, 12C, we'll just make a note. $30, 12C, 1M, and 50M, and CM. So you can close this screen here and type in the potencies here. You would go 30C, double space, 12C, double space, 1M, double space, 50M, double space, and CM. And then you can say duplicate the remedy. You place your substance on the test plate. Now I do know that the test plate does work. There's a medical doctor that I work with in Hermosillo, Mexico. He's a medical doctor, knows nothing about homeopathy. Not even one bit at all. But he works with the QXCI device, and he works on a lot of patients. And he's during the day, half a day he works in the government hospital. Afternoons he sees patients working, so he's integrated both. So I gave him a little lesson on just the Narayani remedies, and he started preparing the remedies from here, and we would do it with distilled water and alcohol, and he would give it to patients. And like a scientist, he kept detailed records. And when I saw him again a couple of years later, he was showing me all his results that he was having. So it does work. Yeah, I use distilled water with 30% of alcohol. Yeah, so 70% distilled water, 30% alcohol. Or if you want to do the sugar pellets, then you take the concentrated alcohol, you can potentize it to the remedy you want, and then you put 1 drop on the pellets and you succuss it. See, the succussion process is also part of the whole link. When you actually doing this, your intent is there, the client's intent, and you're completing the whole triangle loop, and when you're preparing the remedy. No, if you have it, after you click, the plate, you have to activate it by. No. If I do a 50 ml remedy, suppose this is activated on the plate, right? So when I take it off the plate, I shake it like this. No, you don't do it 50 times. No. You just want to activate it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the dosage, in the Narayani formulas, you'll see a remedy called, the word balancing comes there. Those are all 50 m potency. And we use 50 m, I grade 1 dose a day. 50 m potencies, apparently they're not like the high potencies where like most doses where you only give 1 dose. But the 50 m potencies we found working really well. Dr. Rao in India wrote a book on the 50 m potencies. And at our clinics in South Africa, because we only go there once a week, or once a month, or once in 6 weeks, and these people basically have no money for doctors and things like that, so they rely on these homeopathic. So we really came up with these formulations that we can give them and leave it with them for a month, and they just take it once a day, and we really got results. I thought I was going to get attacked when I was talking to an old classical homeopath. He was 80 years old, and I told him that I work with combination remedies. I thought he was going to get off his chair and hit me. He was furious. Pardon? Yes. Oh, actually, if you have good spring water, it's fine. Filtered spring water is fine. Yes, you can do that too, yeah. Distilled water I find, is a little acidic. Yeah. So, in some places, because of the problems of mold getting in the liquid, so that's why I tell them to distill. But I get spring water and deliver it to my clinic in glass bottles. So I use spring water and alcohol. And for the pellets, I recently, we were having a hard time getting the high concentration of alcohol, because the concentration of alcohol we get is only 40%. So when you put it on the pellets, it all becomes clumps. So I managed to get 190 proof, which is really high, and that works well, and it evaporates, so the pellets don't stick. Yeah. So in my clinic, I have a wall with all the tinctures that I've prepared, and I have them slowly. I used to use the 40% alcohol, but now half of them I've got them, since I got the higher alcohol, I'm making them in the higher alcohol. And it's easier to dispense in the pellets. Well, what I do with the pellets is I have a 30 ml bottle of alcohol. I have about 3 on my desk all the time. I charge the bottle with the remedy, shake it well, and then I put it into the pellets, 1 or 2 drops, and then you suckus the pellets and you give the pellets. Now that liquid that's there, you put it back on the test plate and you put clear carrier, it clears up, yeah. So, any more questions? Oh, he just pointed to me 0. I have 0 time.